Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are holding a joint meetup. We're hosted by the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup and the San Francisco Content Strategy and Content Marketing Pros. Those have some California references in the name, but as we were discussing, we are now global. We have Esther from Italy, so hi, Esther. So we're happy to have a global audience here to talk about probably the hottest thing in marketing and the hottest thing in tech, ChatGPT. With us today, we have Rich Schwerin, Senior Content Strategist. Rich has worked at a number of tech companies, Autodesk, VMware, and Oracle. We also have Rosemary Brisco, President of To The Web. To The Web is a B2B demand generation agency working with determined brands and people to achieve high visibility in search engines and generate leads. Take it away, you two.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Dennis, and thanks everyone for joining. Feel free to chime in on the chat with your questions. So just how important and impactful are artificial intelligence chatbots like ChatGPT? Well, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates said last week that ChatGPT is every bit as important as the PC, as the internet. Now, whether you think that's hyperbole or an understatement, it will change our world. I think we might agree on. And so today we're going to focus on what ChatGPT is, a little on how it works, and then some concrete ways on how you can make it work by demonstrating some real-world marketing use cases. We're also going to cover limitations that you should be aware of, and hopefully have time for Q&A at the end. We'll do our best to get to them. Next slide.
Yeah,
Sorry.
There we go. Okay, so, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, so what is ChatGPT? When I prompted ChatGPT to define itself in a simple, concise sentence, that's the response on the screen there. It's this AI chatbot developed by OpenAI. It uses machine learning to generate human-like responses to text-based questions and prompts. So how did it learn this? It's based on OpenAI's Generative Pre-trained Transformer 3. It's kind of a mouthful, GPT-3. That's a natural language processing model that's trained using internet data to generate almost any type of text. Rosemary?
Yes, and the great thing about this is you do not need to be a techie to use it. It's going to automatically answer your questions using artificial intelligence. And it can do things like write stories and perform tasks that were traditionally done by people, such as copywriting, creating sales documents, doing keyword research. It can even explain the legalese language in our contracts. It can write and debug content, our code. And so, you're one of the early adopters because this just landed at the end of November. And with the first 2 months, it generated 100 million people using the platform. And just to put that into perspective, it took TikTok 9 months to grow to that level. And it took Instagram 2.5 years. So that just shows the meteoric rise of ChatGPT. And so ChatGPT was trained on this massive data set of more than 1 trillion words of text that it took from all over, of the web, books, articles, other forms like social media, and so on. And this model was created for data up to the end of 2021. So it doesn't know current data. And, but because of this very broad data set, it includes everything. It includes negative content, such as hate speech and fake news. And you can think of it as an alternative point of view on like COVID vaccination. So if you're putting in a query, a prompt, you're going to get a wide variety of information. And it has learned the statistical structure of text through repeated exposure. And what that does, it allows it to predict the next word based on the context of previously seen words. So it is not going back into a database to pull content. So you can think of it like autocomplete on steroids.
Right. And I'd say I'd use the word understand very cautiously, because what it's doing is looking for the statistical likelihood that any word might come before or after another word. That said, I just chatted a link to the research you see on the screen here. This is from an artificial intelligence expert named Dr. Alan D. Thompson. He used to be a chairman of Mensa International, smart guy. He runs this Life Architect AI, and he has subjected ChatGPT to a number of tests, and these are the results. It would have an intelligent quotient of 147, which is in the 99.9th percentile of humans. I think my research showed Einstein was estimated to have 160 IQ. It would pass an MBA exam at Wharton Business School. It would pass the bar to become Esquire lawyer here in the US. It would pass the US medical licensing exam, and it would pass the CPA exam. Now, what I know about its accuracy, I don't want it doing my taxes, but it's just some examples as to how smart it is. Now, I use smart in quotes because it's not understanding, it's statistically guessing at which words to string together in a brilliant way. How can it be so smart? Well, as Rosemary mentioned, ChatGPT has been trained by OpenAI with this massive amount of text, and it's learned the statistical structure of the text through that repeated exposure. How massive, I think the previous slide said 1 trillion words, that's about 45 terabytes of data. And again, this is just GPT-3, the third generation, which has some, without getting too technical, 175 billion parameters. GPT-4 is reported to have 100 trillion parameters. So imagine what the future stores. Next slide.
So there's going to be a huge legal battle over AI-generated content. And even though ChatGPT's output is created from scratch, there's no template, it's not copied from anywhere, you won't find it on Google. We're already seeing legal battles started. So for example, Getty Images started legal proceedings saying that Stable Diffusion has unlawfully scraped millions of their images. So we're going to see this unfold. I think it's going to take years.
Well, and Rosemary, there's a big risk of plagiarism here that I want to discuss. You and I have talked a little bit about this. If you study the terms of use for ChatGPT, you own the responses for which your prompts generate. Great, right? But you're also responsible for them should they infringe. I liken this to sort of a we broke it, you bought it situation where we are going to talk about how you can check for this. If you have a response, you could run it through Google to make sure it doesn't exist verbatim. But even still, how might we know if it's AI generated or plagiarized? Well, OpenAI has discussed creating a cryptographic watermark feature to add to ChatGPT metadata to help identify AI generated content. And I can think of a lot of teachers at my daughter's school and professors who that might be really useful for assessing a term paper or work that's turned in by a student. Did they write it or did the bot? So something to be aware of, sort of a lot of caveats in all of this.
And we don't have to be worried about our jobs right now, because this quote from the Marketing AI Institute couldn't be better. It's not going to replace us writers, especially the writers who use AI. It's only going to have a negative impact on those who don't. This is great news for us as content marketers. Think of it as enhancing, not replacing what we do. Our goal as marketers should really be to learn how to use AI to produce great work. To do that, we need to learn how to evaluate its quality, accuracy, and originality. So it's going to free you up to do deep work. And pretty quickly, you'll learn how to combine human writing with AI-assisted writing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to read all these slides because I want to get to the really good stuff. So this is, where does it come from? Where does ChatGPT get its information? We've already talked about that. You're not going to find it on Google. However, as Rich said, we've got the whole plagiarism issue here. What we recommend that you do is, here's an example of a chat prompt and response. I asked Chat how to migrate to Google Analytics 4. Yeah. And then I took a snippet of that code. I dropped it into Google to see what was there. Of course, I knew it wasn't going to have an exact match, but I was interested to see what other companies are talking about that whole same content. So depending on your use case, it's a good practice to do things like this if you're going to be using it in a really public way.
Right. Quick addition, Rosemary, and Scott Wilder made this point in the chat. Great distinction here. One of the problems with ChatGPT is it doesn't cite its sources. It makes it increasingly difficult to determine, well, where did this content come from? Just a note there in terms of plagiarism and whatnot.
Right. And on this slide, what you're seeing is Google search. And very recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago, Google issued an internal code red because they realized that ChatGPT was, on fire and they were behind the 8 ball because they weren't ready. And let me show you how serious that is for them. So in my example here, I asked Google, what is a SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. So it gave me a result, which was a link to a well-cited article and other links down here in the knowledge area. However, because I have the ChatGPT for Google Chrome extension enabled and I'm logged in, I can now see an awesome ChatGPT response to that question. So I always have this Google extension enabled. And the problem for Google is that it has no way to monetize this, right? People are getting their answer right here. They're not clicking through. If this was an ad, they'd lose the revenue. And as of last year, well more than half of all searches that happen on Google are 0 click, which means people don't click through to some other place. And then just before we get to the real fun part, just some limitations. So ChatGPT is not always right. It's got all kinds of negative things that you'll have to parse out as you're evaluating your content. It always needs human oversight. So it has limited knowledge of any world events after 2021. It can't perform mathematical calculations beyond simple arithmetic. However, people are pushing the envelope on that already. It can't access the internet. It can't go to external sources and scrape a URL. And I'm going to show you later how to do that. It's not a real person, so you can't ask it for professional advice. All right, so prompts. The prompt is the most important thing to know about ChatGPT, and the possibilities are endless. You really have to experience it to fully understand its potential. And I can tell you after just, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks of using this, that I still haven't even uncovered all the fabulous ways I'm going to use it in the future. But with prompts, it's garbage in, garbage out. Think back to the days of the early web when we could type in red shoes and we would get a bajillion responses. However, if you typed in, 4-inch Jimmy Choo red shoes, you'd actually get some good responses, right? So everything comes down to the quality and the specificity of your prompt. So I'm going to show you a few prompts here, and then we're going to dive into chat. So here's an example prompt. It's very basic. It's too broad. You're not going to really get the best response. So now what I'm doing here is I'm expanding on that. I'm saying, okay, tell me what content marketing strategy is for B2B companies, how it can drive visitors. So it's getting better, but no cigar. But now I'm asking it all kinds of things. I'm asking it to tell me how to drive visitors, to increase search engine rankings. The article that I want to write is going to include examples and templates. So now I have a lot more information and context to give to the bot. So the purpose, the writing prompts that you have need a purpose. They need the audience. The tone, it can be funny, it can be serious, it could even be Shakespeare. The length is always really good to add the context on what you're writing about. And I'm just going to jump there right now. So when you get the slides, there's a number of slides that just tell you all the different uses. And at the back of the slide deck, you're going to find some example prompts that are written to really accelerate your the way you use chat.
Now you're using the plus version, right? That's $20 a month. What does that get you, Rosemary?
Okay, so that gives me access.
Okay.
And until you get this, you're probably not able to log on many times throughout the day.
Okay.
So the first thing that I'm going to show you is just to give you a runaround here. So this box here is where the prompt goes. The prompts are then going to show up here, which I'll show you in a minute. You can go to dark mode. You can look at your account, other information here. And so if you're looking to get on the $20 version, you are going to, when it's available to you, if you've added your name to the wait list, then you're going to see an invite over here. And then all your chats are going to appear here. So now the very first thing we're going to do, Rich had this great idea, and we thank everybody who filled out our survey, is we got a whole lot of responses from our survey. And so I am going to take all the survey responses. I'm going to ask chat to organize and summarize into the top 10 list all the responses so that I know what to cover. Yeah, I'm going to tell them who our audience is, and I'm going to ask for the top 10. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can see at the top here my question and then all the responses. So chat is now giving me the top 10 responses that I should make sure that I cover. Alternates, what tasks, getting started, quick wins. And then it's going to give me some additional information on things that I should also go into more detail about, such as providing real life examples. And it's probably getting this from some of its own knowledge as well. So I'm going to stop it, which you do here. And I could do things like, so the real key to using this is all the refinement that happens. So for example, I could say, give me just the top 3. And now it's going to come back with what the top 3 are. And you can continue to do this. So chat is going to remember 3,000 words of data above here in this previous chat session. As soon as you exit this chat, it forgets everything. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to write an outline for a 200-word article on Google Analytics for migration from a webmaster perspective, telling me what I need to know as of July 1st. So it's now giving me the title of the article and the outline. An introduction, key changes, the timeline for migration, how to prepare for the migration, and so on. Then, as part of refinement, I'm going to ask it to expand on the data privacy aspect of GA4. So I'm going to look at what I see here, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to really explore this aspect. And then it's going to build an outline, information for me to use just on that aspect. I can then ask it in the same chat, because it has a memory of 3,000 words, to give me 5 titles for this article so that I can choose. Pretty awesome, right? How many people are saying, wow, just about now? So now I'm asking it to write 4 ads on migrating to Google Analytics 4 in less than 280 characters. I can also say, create 3 tweets to promote this. Always just refining and expanding on what I want. It's going to give me the hashtags. It's giving me emojis. It's just doing a good job for me already, so that I've got a good point to start from. And then if I wanted, I can say, now we write with humor.
That's a tricky one because humor is subjective. Sort of an electric third rail for those of you who've done some brand marketing.
Right, but you can, and that's a good point, Rich, and then you can see how it's changed, right? Ditch the old tracking, right? So, you know, it can understand tone. You have to tell it tone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here is a really awesome thing you can do. I'm going to just, oh, it's already stopped. I'm now asking it to create a multi-part email campaign, as if I'm a bank, to inform people how they can protect themselves from credit card fraud during online purchases. And it's going to go through and write my 3 emails for me. And we'll stop it after the second one, but I just want to show you some of the subtle changes that it's made between these. Additional tips to protect yourself from credit card fraud, as a protect yourself, right? So now it's talking about all the ways that you can keep your software up to date, use two-factor authentication, blah, blah, blah.
Well, great, but can it tell me, you know, at what cadence should I set up this drip campaign?
I'm so glad you asked, Rich.
How's that for a tee up?
Okay, so now I'm going to ask it to optimize the schedule for this nurture campaign. And now it's telling me when to send these emails out. So even though we said as marketers, we don't have to really be worried about our job, but isn't this awesome? It's going to really short circuit your work on a lot of things.
So Rosemary and Rich, we have a question.
Please.
It's about content. Since we're showing content generation, it's a good question from Rena. She asked, what's the maximum words it will create? How big of an ebook can it spit out?
It can go for a long, I don't know what the count of what it will spit out, but I think it's really infinite as long as you keep doing this. So the point is, if you do it, Rima, by in iterations, I don't see that it's going to stop. I've never had it stop for me in the past. Now, that you bring up a good point, because I have found that I can only drop into the prompt about 2,000 and some odd words. Mm-hmm. That's likely going to change, but with V4.
Yeah, with fourth generation. I also had, we also saw some comments in the chat. This is ChatGPT, different than the implementation of ChatGPT that's part of Bing. You know, Microsoft has put $1 billion, probably now more, into OpenAI and ChatGPT. So I think some of the experience you're seeing in ChatGPT is unlike the experience that the Bing ChatGPT mashup provides.
And I'm just going to start a new chat, and I'm going to ask it to convert this text into headings and subheadings and create an outline for an article on search engine optimization, and including a one-page optimization keyword research on-page and off-page factors. And also, so there's a lot of nuances that you need to know about, like put it in bullet form. That's a really helpful one to do all the time, because you're able to more quickly scan the results and work from there.
Or to your point about scanning, you know, put the most commonly used words in bold.
Right. I've had mixed results doing that.
Right.
But yes, it does some of it. So now you can see I have this outline, right? So when I showed this to my longtime writer, he said, it takes me a day to create a really solid content outline for a long form blog post. And so what this is going to do is it's going to give you the starting place for content generation for blogs and so on.
You know, you just made a quick note that I want to double down on around mixed results. The results you're seeing on screen, every one of you will get different results for the same prompts. It's analogous to Google query results, such that depending on my prior searches, my geolocation, time of day, I might get slightly different SERP. In this, Rosemary, in your experience just doing this demo, the results have changed day to day, moment to moment.
Right, the concepts are still the same. It's just the wording is different.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of fun testing that.
Yeah.
All right, so this is one of my favorite things. So summarization is one of the most awesome parts of ChatGPT. So I am taking, just so I'm looking at another screen where I have all my prompts. And so I'm going to take the legalese from one of my contracts, which of course makes no sense to me because I'm not a lawyer. And I'm asking Chat to summarize and explain what it means in 50 words or less in bullet form. So I'm taking all this legalese and I'm dropping it in here. So it's telling me that I retain all propriety rights to my services.
Right. So, Rosemary, will you go back to your attorney and say, listen, we need to simplify our fine print?
This is the, you know, I'm hoping that using ChatGPT, I don't have to spend $1,000 on my lawyer asking him to read a contract.
Again, not to be the wet blanket, but I would just say caveat emptor in that if it's legal stuff, I'd want to make sure it's really accurate, good human oversight. But it's a great demo of summarization, simplification.
Right, right. Okay, another quick one. Create a 5-slide presentation that outlines the most important search engine marketing techniques that will increase search ranking in the form of an Ask Me Anything presentation for a chief marketing officer.
And, you know, this is where you could get clever. Now do it in Latin. We recently tested with my wife and daughter Klingon. Yes, it does. I don't speak Klingon, but it appeared to be Klingon. And
it's fun to like say, write this as Shakespeare would.
Sure. And I've seen in the chat, Mark Twain, right? Bart Simpson, etc.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop this so I can do a bit of refining. I'm going to ask it to create a LinkedIn social post to promote this presentation with an attitude.
With a fun attitude.
With a fun attitude, and I didn't spell that right.
Well, hopefully it figures it out.
Yeah, it does.
And this is one of these situations where subjectively, all of us on the call, we have a different perception of what's a fun attitude. This is a system that is looking at the statistical likelihood of words strung together to be fun.
But you can do it with sarcasm. I mean, there's lots of different tones that you can use. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable a plugin that I absolutely can't live without. And
I will send the link to that plugin.
Yes, thank you.
It's a little Chrome extension. Here we go.
So while Rosemary's doing that, maybe this, well, either of you can answer this question. Andy is asking about, there's the thumbs up, thumbs down icon after the first line of the response. Have you ever given that feedback? And what does that do when you give that feedback?
It goes to the trainers. That's what we believe, that it goes to the trainers.
And I believe the trainers. Sorry,
just clarify, what do you mean by the trainers? Are these humans?
Yes, yes. Okay. As far as I know, they're human trainers.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that to be the case from what I've read, Dennis, Rosemary, in that OpenAI. Essentially, whenever there's a free product, you got to be somewhat suspicious in that if the product's free, you're probably the product. So I believe that our use of this, especially through thumbs up, through thumbs down comment to those trainers, they're using it hopefully to improve for the better the ChatGPT experience.
Okay, so let me just introduce you to what you're seeing here. So Rich has given you a link to this Chrome extension, And don't be scared by, you see all this. There's like, what is there? Almost now it's up to 686 prompts. So let's just make this a little more manageable just to look at. Let's look at 8. So there are 2 different kinds of prompts. There's public prompts and your own prompts that you can create. And you will eventually start creating your own prompts. When you get the slide deck, you'll look at the back and you'll get a better appreciation of how to create prompts. And hopefully we'll have some time just to look at a few of those. So what I want to show you first is, there's a variety of different topics that you can filter for. Activities, you can vote the top voted. I'm going to do keyword strategy over here, and I'm going to pull up this one. So watch this. That's a term that usually men use when something's going to go wrong, like a car accident is going to happen because you're, driving a Tesla and you're going too fast. Okay, so I'm going to add here card issuing platform. That is my keyword that I'm going after. It is going to take that data because someone on this platform has written a prompt that's super useful. So you can now see the keyword clusters that it's going to organize all the information. It's going to tell me the best keywords to use. It's going to tell me the intent of that keyword, the title, and the meta description that I should be using.
While that does that, a couple comments in the chat. What you use can be publicly exposed. That's why Amazon warned the AWS employees to stop putting intellectual property into ChatGPT. So that is a risk there. And then to the question about citing sources, that's not something ChatGPT currently does. So that presents a real challenge for us to get to the root of all this.
And now I'm going to just this same data. So as a marketer, I don't really want to go after in this post that I'm going to write informational keywords. I want to go after search intent that's commercial and transactional. So I have to stop this because it will go on for quite a while. And now I'm going to say show only keywords with search intent for commercial and transactional. And it's now going to shorten this list to the keywords that I'm probably going to try to go after and the titles and descriptions. So then what you can do with this is you can say, okay, card issuance platform, let's go and do a content outline on something like that. Stop. Okay. So with this plugin, every time you want to do a new one, you go over here and hit new chat. So now I'm going to do silo. Let's see, where did it go? Okay, audit existing content for SEO. Here we go. Okay. So you look down here, I selected this option. You see here, you can actually pull together your own list of prompts. I'm hoping that someday soon they allow us to have a favorites instead of, I can't imagine how many prompts there are going to be here in a year. So what it's asking you to do is to copy and paste the full page content here, title and description, author. And all we're going to do is we're going to go, here's what we want to do. We want to go to this web page. And this is Stripe. And of course, there's all kinds of images and other things here that will make it very messy to copy. So I'm just going to give you a quick little tip on what to do. Take your URL, use one of our tools, which is a convert HTML to text tool. It's going to take that text and it's going to strip out everything. These are all the menu options and everything, but what you want to do is you want to go down here to where the actual page content starts. There we go. Okay, how to monetize services. So we're going to take some of this text. Take a little bit more. Let's see. I think I'm going to get to my limit, so I'm going to just go back over here. I'm going to drop that into there. Ah, good. Okay. So now what this is doing, it's looking at this existing content and auditing it from a search engine ranking perspective. It's going to tell me the important things about whether Google has this formula. It's called EAT: expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So it's going to tell you how it perceives that content based on those elements, which are super important for you to know. And it does.
While it's doing that, Rosemary, quick question in the chat around how do I use this on mobile in terms of apps? Note that ChatGPT is just one way of accessing, in this case, a subset of GPT-3 data. There are other interfaces that access that. They have apps. I'm not aware, are you, Dennis or Rosemary, of OpenAI publishing an app? I don't see one on the Android store.
There's not a ChatGPT app at this time. There's an OpenAI, which is more for developers, but there's not an app that, that we would publicly use.
Yeah, I think you're just running it on your browser on your phone.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to try one more thing. Silo structure. Oh, now there's two. So I'm going to say, buy now, pay later.
And as you do this, Rosemary, we can talk a little bit about sources and citing sources and lack of sources, and that concern that you might have around all of this responses.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. It's something to be mindful of.
So this is really looking at how would you structure a website if your company was offering buy now, pay later services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one that I like as a search optimizer is I'm going to ask ChatGPT to take a whole block of text and tell me the top 5 keyword phrases used in the article at least 3 times. So the other great thing about ChatGPT is it's great for competitor research. So now it's going to take that whole article and look at how fast this is. I mean, it's lightning fast. So you can tell it's not going to a database, right? It just knows what the next answer is. So it's taken all of this content from an article I wrote on website governance, and it's given me the keyword phrases that it determines are the most relevant. And now I can do things like create an email broadcast, blah, 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 using that. Or I can say shorten or whatever. Okay, all right, so here's something interesting. So we said that ChatGPT has no knowledge of content after 2021, no new knowledge. It hasn't hoovered up the web past 2021. However, I determined that you can take just a URL of brand new content, especially if the URL is like this, like it's a description-rich URL, and it's going to tell me what it thinks this page is about. And it's not seeing the content on that page, but it's telling me based on what it knows of the words in this phrase, what that content is most likely about. So once again, you can use this for old or new content.
So Rosemary, there was a couple of questions about this whole 2021 training data. Karen is asking, do you know when it'll be updated to be more current? And Cindy asked earlier, do you know if it'll ever access data in real time, like training?
So I listened to an interview by Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, and he just referenced that GPT-4 is coming. There was no date that he gave. And I think because it's so much data that it's collecting and learning in its model, that I think they don't know how long it takes. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the New York Times speculates in the first quarter of 2023. I think that's where we are now, right? Fiscal calendar, rather. So there's speculation if you Google it, but I would think it's this year, and it's orders of magnitude larger than GPT-3. It also is rumored to include not just text, but video and images. So should be interesting.
And what was the second question?
Well, it was like, when will it be more current, and will it actually be trained on to know stuff that's happening in real time, like happening now?
I'm sure it will be, because Bing is already saying it's doing that. So yes, I think all those things will happen. We just don't have that capability just yet. So I'm just going to show you a few other quick examples, and then we'll go to QA. So this is one of my favorite things. So I'm asking it to create a table of the top 10 best-selling books by Michael Connelly and the year they were published. And so the point of showing you this is it can create tables for all kinds of things. And then the very awesome thing that it can do, I'm going to stop generating, I can ask it to convert the table to a .csv file format. So imagine you had a very, very long table of 100 rows. Okay, so that's not what it usually looks like. So I'm going to ask it again because it's not cooperating right now. Okay, well, now you can copy and paste this. Sometimes you'll actually see a black screen come up that shows you that. All right, personas. I'm going to ask chat to write a 25-word paragraph on the topic of payment processing for financial services fintech companies in the style of a social media influencer. So you can see it's taking first person here, blah, 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 giving you hashtags and so on. And I'm going to skip that question. Okay, Rich, I'm going to go to your LinkedIn profile.
Wait a second, what? Okay, that's fine. I need to update it anyway recently.
Okay, I'm just going to turn off the extension just for fun.
Okay.
And
if you take the copy from the shared doc, that's kind of.
I'm doing that. Okay, so now I'm taking Rich's LinkedIn profile and I'm asking it to capture the attention of recruiters and hiring managers.
It reminds me of the website makeover meetup we did years ago, Rosemary.
That's right. That's right.
Put your website in the hot seat.
Yeah, that's right.
I do have work to do.
Isn't this great?
It is, and truth be told, this is useful. And I think to Jeremiah's point earlier in the chat, so far, these aren't things that humans can't do or aren't doing. It's more the acceleration of the doing, right? Is that how you're using it into the web, Rosemary, to kind of accelerate tasks?
Oh, yes, totally.
Yeah.
Summarize tasks and so on. What I really want to get into, though, is a lot more data analysis. So I'm just going to show you one quick example. So what I'm doing here is I am grabbing an Excel file that has a whole lot of data, maybe 10 rows of data that show the keywords that drive people to the website, the click pattern, the impressions, and so on over two time periods. So I'm going to drop all that into here. So I'm hoping everybody sees that it's just endless, the possibilities of the ways you can use ChatGPT. So this is looking at my data and telling me about, what are the low impression keywords, and so on, high position keywords, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to stop using this. How are our questions coming?
It's been challenging to follow them all in the chat. To be honest, I apologize if I haven't hit everyone. Dennis?
Yeah, there was one, just Rosemary, remind us, Monica's asking that plugin, what is the name again and what does it do?
Rich, you've got it. Can you just drop it in there, please?
I will. I'll send it right out.
Okay. So, by the way, To the Web is launching a newsletter. Dennis is going to give you the link to it. It's going to be called The Prompt. It's going to be probably twice a month that gives you instructions on how to write really great prompts. So I'm very quickly going to show you what you're going to find at the end of the document, just so you get a sense of how you write really awesome prompts. And I tell you this because you probably saw, and maybe you didn't see it in the meetup page, someone said, I have a problem trying to ask ChatGPT to combine 2 articles together and rewrite the article. So I asked her, send me your prompt. So her prompt was basically just that, combine these 2 articles. Well, I told her that if you gave that exact same example to your writer, a human writer, your human writer couldn't do it either because it has no context. So here you can just see the things that make really great prompts. So here's a 3-part email campaign. I'm asking the chat to write I'm offering 3 different pieces of content, include a subject line, write variable sentence lengths. So just so you know, there's apparently when AI writes, it writes more consistent length sentences, and that's not what humans do. So I'm asking it to vary the sentence length. I'm giving it the 3 pieces of content. I'm telling it who my audience is, the industry they're in, to reference the call to action to download, who my company is and what their description is, and then more information about the tone.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see a number of prompts at the back, and I'm going to keep working on these. Okay, so I think we have 10 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah, and I'll fire one real quick. I see a question about the digital watermark. That's something that I read an article that OpenAI is considering. And it's this cryptographic, I'm not an engineer, but it's an approach that they're considering as a way to mark something as being generated by AI. I don't think it's currently available. They also have, what is it called, Rosemary, the tool that they have to try to determine if something's right?
Okay, so there's at least 3 tools right now, and I'm sure since I last looked, there's more that purport to identify content that is human written versus AI written, but they're terrible. And even OpenAI's tool, they freely admit that it doesn't do a very good job. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can use them, but you're not going to get good results.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the tool and see if I can link to it.
I've got it in here.
Okay. Other questions? Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone. There are the slides.
There's also you'll see on slide 41, a really great other plugin that I like, GPT, great for competitor research. Okay, so this is the tool here, the AI text classifier, but Barry Feldman wrote a lot of content on my site, pretty much all of it. And so he and I did tests with my content, asking the AI if it was human written or AI written. And we got mixed results with the same content. So you can't really rely on this, right?
Right.
How will this encroach on Google's business model? Well, I think it already has, because I haven't looked at any data on what's happening with Bing search, but I'm sure people are migrating to Bing search just because it's got an AI component.
What else?
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry, good take. Don't publish the content it generates. I would say publish, but I would want to fully disclose to my audience that I'm publishing content that is AI generated. I don't want to do anything to disrupt the trust I might have built with an audience while masquerading as, yeah, I did this. No, the bot did it. So I'm in the stance of full disclosure. If it's assisted me in some way and I'm not using it verbatim, it's probably not on every piece I do, but there's probably a liner note that says, among the tools I'm using, be it SEMrush or what have you, I'm also using ChatGPT.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to use it verbatim, because I want to put my creative spin on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And somebody made a comment about Google and AI. Well, here's the interesting thing. Google already has the world's data, right, in its search engine. And it missed out on this opportunity, right? And then, of course, it bungled its launch.
Well, again, it all comes back to the data that these systems are trained on, right? And so when you talk about biases, if that's in the data, then yeah, there could be a lot of bad that comes out of all of this. Hopefully a lot of good. Rosemary, the FAQ will make this doc available as well?
Eventually.
Okay.
It's pretty messy right now, but this is, what I did was I read all the survey comments, and I knew we wouldn't get a chance to talk about all of them. I think Rich has done a really good job about talking about copyright infringement. And so eventually I'll make this available. So what's the future of GTP? I listened to this interview with Sam Altman. He says that he sees that the use of AI in the medical field is going to show that computer-assisted doctors can outperform human doctors in some cases. He says that it's going to be used for, we're going to find AI tutors that can teach math and other topics very well. People are developing AI programming that can already write and debug code. I mean, this is already happening now. And I think the biggest thing is everyone will have at their disposal a staff like a corporation for almost anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got some more questions. There's a thoughtful question from Jeremiah to Rosemary and Rich. How can we help you?
Oh, send me. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
No, you go, Rosemary.
Okay, so because I'm just on the forefront of launching the prompt newsletter, send me challenging topics that you want ChatGPT to handle, and I'll see if I can write you a really good prompt.
Yeah, and I'd say just really three things. One, you've already done. Thank you for attending and engaging today. I'm sorry I haven't been able to keep up with everything on the chat, but the engagement's great. Tell your friends all about the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. We're not just in the Bay Area. With the pandemic and Dennis's weekly Thursday Zooms at noon, we've gone global. Be careful as you join. We probably were going to ask you to present sooner or later. Everyone here has expertise. I really love this community of knowledge sharing, networking, and it's great that we're all together. And then third, sign up for Rosemary's prompt newsletter.
Thanks, Rich. Okay, so there was an email from a program manager who's in product innovation, and he has asked, like, how can I optimize and use ChatGPT in my daily tasks? Well, it's going to do a lot of things. It's going to help you create new ideas. You can use it for product ideation. You can use it for writing reports and creating summaries of meetings and research, creating emails and responses to emails, and things like answering frequently asked questions, right? You can start building using ChatGPT. It's going to quickly generate responses to the most frequently asked questions you have. Of course, you need human oversight. But those are just some of the topics that it can help you with in your day-to-day life. So then there was a really good question about the pros and cons of someone in government using this. So while there's significant benefits in terms of efficiency and accuracy, there's also, on the other hand, concerns about accountability, transparency, accuracy, and bias. So as we mentioned earlier, ChatGPT has all this content from the web, and as we know, there's a lot of crummy content, just badly written content. It has, you know, hateful content, fake news, and so you have to be very careful. That's why you always need human oversight to everything. It doesn't replace us. It simply short circuits our work.
Yeah. Rosemary, would you mind chatting the link to your newsletter again?
Oh, sure.
Dennis, thanks. And there's some great chat right now about health-related concerns, such that what if you're getting medical advice from ChatGPT that might be inaccurate? It reminds me of sort of like the your money or your life content, right? In which Google takes that very seriously. I would be very concerned with any accuracies here. I mean, I think Rosemary's demonstrated some useful acceleration of common marketing tasks. Beyond that, there's a lot of limitations, just to sort of caveat emptor. They broke it, you bought it, and I would just check everything for accuracy. Be concerned.
So the best way to get the right answers from Chad, and of course, right, is subjective, is be specific, use clear language, ask one question at a time. It's funny. OpenAI says that you should use proper grammar and spelling and punctuation, but I haven't seen that it makes any difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
Rich, anything that we've missed? Anything else that's coming across for questions?
No, we'll save this Zoom chat. There's a lot I missed. We'll do this again. I think we're close to the hour. Any final comments, Rosemary, Dennis?
Yeah, just on logistics, I will be so you all registered on meetup.com, I believe. So I will be posting to that meetup listing, the event listing, which you should get. You can either check the page or you should get an email notification. So I'll post the slides, the recording, and there was a request for the chat transcript and the prompts. So all of that will be available later today.
Perfect.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, all you early adopters. That's just great. So, and if you have comments, I'd really love to hear how you're using ChatGPT. So I'm just going to put my email address in here because I'm looking for great ideas for my prompt newsletter. All right.
All right. Thanks so much, Rosemary and Rich.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.